Dubell. How do you and other ex-Scientologists generally feel about the fascination that many never-ends like myself have for the subject of Scientology? Have you personally ever been bothered by the intense public interest? It's no secret that there are a ton of people who follow breaking news in the weird world of Scientology with popcorn-munching, wide-eyed fascination. We, let's be honest, devour your videos and blog, as well as books, videos, and websites put out by other ex-members, the Underground Bunker, Going Clear, etc. And chances are they end up sharing this interest with their friends, some of whom inevitably become hooked themselves. That's arguably a good thing, since the more exposure there is to the abuses of this tax-exempt organization, the more likely that they might be forced to change their ways, and/or the more potential new members will stay away. But while I'm sure that you appreciate people's interest for that reason at least, I also can't help but wonder if it can feel a little weird that so many strangers are so intrigued by tales of your own personal abuse and suffering. Does it ever, well, seem a little creepy sometimes? You know, it's so funny because I'm such an optimistic, see the better side of people kind of person that it didn't even occur to me that people would be rubbernecking on, Scientology abuses and, gloating over them as though they got some sort of sick, perverse joy out of it. And if any of you people out there are doing that, shame on you. Now, that being said, I'm happy to get the word on the abuses of Scientology and destructive cults in general, or any kind of destructive group, out into people's heads and get them thinking and get them talking about it. Because I think the more awareness that can be made out there in the real world about these kind of things, the less power and the less susceptibility people have to fall into those situations in the first place, because education is crucial to being able to avoid falling into the pit traps of life. And that's a very general, idea that I promote, with critical thinking education and things like that, is how to stay out of trouble, how to lead a better life, So I'm fine with people being interested in this who were never Scientologists in the first place. One comment that I will make about this, though, is, and again, something I'd like to constantly having to correct, is this idea that people who fall into destructive cults are stupid or moronic or lack common sense or anything like that, because that's just not true. The tools that destructive cults use to snag new members have been well crafted over decades. Scientology didn't just sprout up all of a sudden, it developed. And the way in which people are gotten into Scientology is a very crafty way. It's not, they don't, people have such misconceptions about this, and I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into a whole thing about it now. But I am just going to say that if you have the idea that, you're watching a bunch of stupid morons being stupid morons and getting snagged into things that you would never get snagged into, I got to tell you, you are woefully mistaken, because we all fall. We all have our, pitfalls, and we all fall into our own little traps, our own little way in life. Maybe it's not a religious cult you're falling into. Maybe your fanaticism or your potential fanaticism is in the area of sports or politics or social interests. It could be anything. And it's a point I like to make, because I don't think that it's warranted that Scientologists be laughed at or ridiculed for having become Scientologists in the first place. It's not really an appropriate attitude to have about them. Or any destructive cult for that matter. So I will add that little thing to the answer to this question. So there you go.